probably should have saved this video for closer to Easter, though I don't always like to be so on the nose, but I have a very simple yet powerful concept for us to explore today. One of the most overused but underthought claims within modern Christianity, that Jesus' death on the cross was the greatest act of love. Christians make many claims about Jesus and his death and his resurrection, not least of which, though, is that this is the perfect sacrifice, that there can be nothing greater, nothing more meaningful. We are told in the Bible that the greatest act of love is to lay down your life for another, and Jesus supposedly laying down his life for everyone that has ever lived. What could be greater? Is this not the pinnacle, the highest and most perfect manifestation of true love that could ever exist? I don't think so. Like I said, overused, but underthought. Because even if we examine this a little bit, I think it falls apart completely. And so we're going to look at this from a few angles today. But first I wanted to say thank you. This is a patron pick. So once a month, I pick someone in the freethinker or above tier to tell me what to make a video about. And this topic today comes from James Geider, who has been a humanist hero for over 12 months now. James actually gave me like 4 wonderful suggestions, and I'd love to do a video on them all. But sometimes these simpler ones, these ones that are so in our face that we should have already been thinking about and that probably many of us have thought about, but it's nice to hear vocalized so that it can be normalized, are my favorites to do. So thanks again to James and everyone else who supports the channel in any way. But let's dive into today's topic. And the first point that James makes and that I'm going to echo here is that who wouldn't? And this isn't an ego thing. Many Christians will say, I don't know if I could. This faux humility to elevate Christ. But really, if you took any of those Christians and you put them in a situation where they could save just one life, I think most would, even if it cost their own. Now imagine that that one life is someone very dear to them, their spouse, their partner, their child. It's almost a guarantee at this point, right? Just one person truly close to them, especially if they're responsible for. I think that's why the kid analogy is so powerful. And many people would say that it comes down to a numbers game, which might sound a bit utilitarian here, but I really believe that if you offered most people with perfect evidence, hey, it's either you or these 10 people, many people would dive on that grenade, and then raise the number, 100 people, 1,000 people. You might have people say no at different levels, but can we not get to a number where eventually it makes sense? And one of the things that might cause them to say no is this bias that is in all of us, this distance bias where, well, I don't know them. What if it's 100 people you knew? What if it's every single friend that you have and their children? You're really not going to lay your life down? Some people that are considering this are thinking, okay, yeah, but I have children. It will hurt them if I'm gone. Keep all of these little facts in mind because we're going to make this comparison in a second. You're going to see how ridiculous this is. What if you're single and you can save 1 million people, 1,000 of which you know perfectly and you love with all your heart and they're all important to you? What if I told you that you personally had mapped out a plan for them? What if I told you that you were responsible for all of them, that somehow you had created them all? What if you had 1,000 children and the offer is on the table, them versus you? But what if we tip the scales even further? What if I said, if you don't lay down your life for them, not only will they die, they will be resurrected afterwards on purpose to be kept alive, or at least conscious, to be tormented eternally. Now let me make this deal even better for you. If you die and get out of your human suffering in this human body, you'll be resurrected and you'll be the God of the universe. We're just going to stop with all the middle point analogies and look at this for what the claim really is. You will be resurrected and have full power as the reigning king of the cosmos forever. So we started with, would you die for a stranger, all the way to, would you die for the entire world that you're responsible for, that you supposedly love every single person dearly, and not just the people currently alive, but the people that have died. And you're not just saving their life, you're saving them from eternal conscious torment. And you're not just going to die and go into the dirt, you're actually going to get a better deal and become king of the universe. It becomes meaningless. Who wouldn't? It's like crossing the street. It's mundane. Well, Brandon, what if the death was especially horrific? I don't deny that. Crucifixion sounds like a nightmare. Funny enough, in recorded history, if we're believing Jesus' crucifixion and the story that goes with it, and comparing it to what we know about historical crucifixions, Jesus had the easiest crucifixion of anyone that's ever been crucified. 3 hours. Crucifixion could last days, typically. As a parent, I can say one of the worst parts of losing my life or being tortured and then killed would be for my children to have to witness it. Jesus didn't have children. Other people who have been crucified, who were crucified for longer, who wouldn't then go on to become God, who had children witnessing it, knowing they would miss out on their future, knowing the trauma that this would place on them, knowing that there wouldn't be anyone there to provide for them. Is that loss not so much greater? And yet there's no reward for them for saving the entire world. When you really construct everything together that is the claim of what Jesus is doing and what he gets afterward, what he didn't have to lose, and even how his pain was limited compared to what most people have gone through in that same horrific situation, no doubt about it, Jesus is starting to get a pretty sweet deal. In fact, I wonder if you could just rewind time completely and you're just somehow up in heaven and you're given the choice, hey, you can be the Son of God and or God himself. You'll exist in a state of perfection. Your will be done. In fact, it's even going to be your will. You're going to want to do this thing, but there is this one thing you're going to have to go through. You're going to go down, become a human for 33 years. For 30 years, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Then you're going to have 3 years of ministry. You're going to make a ton of friends, travel, teach, eat, and drink. And then you're going to have 3 bad hours. Then you're going to have the most glorious resurrection. And you will truly be worshipped and loved by billions. And even if everyone hated you, which they won't, you'll get the pleasure of knowing that you saved all these people from the thing that you set up to harm them in the first place. My sarcasm might be getting in the middle of this a little bit, but do you understand what I'm saying? I bet many people would take that deal. And the only people saying I wouldn't take that deal are probably taking it for good moral reasons, like I don't want to be worshipped. But we know this God does. In fact, he demands it and commands it, which kind of leads into point 2 here. So the first angle is the most important, and I could stop the video here and I think we would have made some major ground. But the Christian claim of this is the greatest act of love is often used with a very negative implication. He died for you. You owe him. See this video here, I've expanded on this particular angle of the topic before, but this Jesus loves you so much he died for you. He was thinking about you when he was on that cross. It was your sin that was the nail driving into his palm. This is like the ultimate mic drop in Christian witnessing, playing both sides of the coin, the love and the or else, all at the same time. It's truly the definition of emotional manipulation. It plays on guilt. It plays on obligation. It's designed to bypass logic and create some kind of instant loyalty or obedience or submission. Imagine a stranger coming up to you saying, hey, I'm finally healed now, but 3 months ago I jumped in front of a bus for you. Love me forever. What? I didn't know you. I didn't ask you to do that. I don't owe you anything. It gets worse when, again, we consider that Jesus didn't have to do this, right? That's the other part of the story. It was the only way to atone for our evil. Well, you could have not made me evil. You could have not let me be born. The stranger in the example doesn't actually have all those controls, but the God of the universe would. If you're a Christian and you actually believe that truly in all of the potential multiverses, like your Doctor Strange looking at everything that could have ever been, the only way that God could get us out of this bind of our sin was to make himself a human at this particular time in the Middle East and get himself killed so that he could be resurrected to beat death, like it's some kind of a legal code that he had to get himself out of. If you really believe that, you don't believe your God is all powerful. None of this had to happen. It is like the random guy jumping in front of the bus saying, your turn, give me your life. We're just born with this debt that supposedly someone else pays for us, right? Isn't that the great gospel message? But they always fail to say the second part. It was a loan. Now we just owe that person. Imagine if you owed $100,000 to the bank. You're in a pickle. You don't know how you're going to do it. But some stranger comes over and says, hey, guess what? Without you knowing, I went and I paid that for you. It's a free gift. Wow. Thank you. And again, to make it more biblically accurate, they actually put that debt on you when you were born because they judged punished you for being bad, just to make it fair, because it's still so much more ridiculous in the reality of the biblical context. So they pay your $100,000 debt. They say it's a free gift, enjoy. Oh, but now you owe me. And if you don't pay me back in the way I want to be paid, with giving your life to me, letting me control your life, submitting to me, obeying me, loving me. Jesus says to love me is to obey me. If you don't do that, things are going to get worse. It's not just the bank that's going to foreclose on your house. It's me. I'm going to foreclose on your life. And then I'm going to make absolute sure that you exist forever in a conscious, tormented state. Or pure annihilation, whichever one you want to go with. It's not a free gift at all. It's a transfer of debt and a transfer of power. The third angle was going to be the concept of hell and how it plays into us, though I think I've covered this. But to give you one more quick analogy here, it's as if a firefighter pulls you from a burning building that he lit on fire, and as you're thanking him, he corrects you and says, now listen, you're going to marry me, you're going to love me, you're going to obey me, you're going to worship me, and you're going to make all your friends do the same. And if you don't, I'm going to throw you back in. In what world is this viewed as a good thing? In what world is this the greatest act of love? It fails on so many levels. It's almost hilarious if it wasn't so horrific how many of us had bought into this. How many people this Easter will weep at their church service as the youth team acts out the horrific pain that Jesus went through for you? How many spirits will be stirred into the emotional manipulation of, I'm so broken, look what I deserved, and yet this man took it for me. The least I can do is give my life to him. Utter insanity and manipulation. What's worse is, again, in this biblical comparison, the sacrifice only matters if we know about it and we can get ourselves to believe in it. And then we act accordingly. There's problems all over that aspect as well. And we've talked about this before, not only the divine hiddenness of God, not only the bad evidence against Christianity that we are told we must still overcome, that we must just turn off our brain, and who cares if we can see clearly how immoral it is or incorrect it is, believe anyways, but also this entire concept of where and when you are born and to whom and with what circumstances and influences, 1,000 things outside your control. To say that his death was a gift to everyone, that it was an act of love for everyone, when we know for a fact that the vast amount of people that have ever been born and will most likely ever be born simply have not even had the opportunity to hear about the gift and thus are excluded from the gift. How very sad and silly. So, to close here, instead of considering what kind of person wouldn't, because I think we've already established if those odds were really there, you could save the whole world that you created, that you're responsible for, that you loved, by being tortured for 3 hours and raising again as the supreme ruler of everything. Most people would do it, if not everybody, if actually articulated correctly and presented fully. But furthermore, what God wouldn't? What kind of a monster would you have to be claimed all-powerful and all-loving and not save everyone? If God really loved everyone, why wouldn't he actually just save everyone? Why would he ever condemn them in the first place? And I know all the Christian apologetics about it's out of his hands, evil entered the world. It's not like we have verses that directly say he created it, or all the times that he brags about it. It was us, we did it. We're so powerful that the first humans who ever existed created evil out of thin air, apparently, and chose to pass it down to every single child and generation for all time. That's us? What about all the verses that say we're nothing, the lowly creatures from the dirt? Which is it? But that's a tangent for another day. Long story short here, they act like Jesus is so unique and so heroic, but I would bet that any human parent would do more for less, and they wouldn't demand lifelong allegiance afterwards. One of the things that James actually said in his message is how offensive he finds this concept, and that is the perfect word. It is offensive. It's offensive to ask us to believe it. It's offensive to ask us to expect it. It's offensive to tell us what we owe, when with just a little unpacking, we can see how actually horrific, if not straight up evil, if such a thing existed, this entire concept is. and it should and would be offensive to any real perfect loving God that actually cared for his creation. So thank you again, James. Thank you again, all patrons. Thank you again to everyone who supports the channel in any way. I'll see you Tuesday with another takedown, and until then, keep thinking. I wanted to personally thank my top tiers of support: my Iconoclast, Alexander, Ann, Boris, GVI, Jimmy, Joe, Kitboga, Matthew, Perry, and Shawn; my Humanist heroes, Craig, James, Jarrod, Kristi, and Matthew; my Atheist advocates, Caleb, David, Drew, Jeff, Jeffrey, Julie, Malcom, Paul, Sparky, and Thomas; as well as all of my Secular Scholar patrons. If you believe in the mission of this channel, or you just enjoy its content, please consider joining these fine people.